Daniel Carter lived with his young daughter in a quiet suburban neighborhood where everything looked perfect on the surface, but strict HOA rules controlled every detail of daily life. Freedom was limited, and even small actions were constantly observed. His life was simple and centered around his daughter's happiness. Every evening, watching her play outside brought him peace. But in this neighborhood, privacy was only an illusion. Every neighbor seemed to watch and judge each other silently. Small actions were easily misunderstood and often reported. Trust between residents was slowly disappearing. Some people believed in strict rule enforcement without exceptions. Even harmless moments could become complaints. The HOA office took every report seriously without hesitation, and once something was reported, it quickly became official. One day, a simple observation turned into a formal complaint. Something ordinary was misunderstood in the worst possible way. Daniel had no idea anything unusual was happening around him. He continued living his normal life with his daughter. Behind the scenes, discussions had already begun. Assumptions were spreading faster than facts. Authorities were eventually informed about the situation. What started small was now becoming official concern. Police vehicles entered the quiet neighborhood unexpectedly. Windows began to close as people watched silently. Daniel stepped outside, confused by the sudden presence. He could not understand what was going on. An officer explained that a complaint had been filed. Daniel listened carefully, shocked but still calm. His daughter stood close behind him, feeling uncertain and afraid. He tried his best to keep her calm and safe. Neighbors secretly recorded and observed everything happening. Everyone was already forming their own version of the story. Police began documenting the entire situation formally. Every word and detail was being recorded. An HOA representative arrived, making the situation more serious. Tension in the air continued to rise. Daniel calmly explained everything from his side. His honesty was clear and consistent. Slowly, officers began to understand the truth. The pressure in the situation started to decrease. The immediate concern was eventually resolved, but the impact of the situation remained. Daniel realized this was not just a simple misunderstanding. Opinions had already spread throughout the neighborhood. That night, he sat quietly thinking about everything. He felt that the situation was far from over. The next day, the neighborhood felt different. People no longer treated him the same way. HOA rules became even stricter than before. Surveillance and monitoring increased across the area. Daniel decided he could not ignore the situation anymore. He began looking into his legal rights. He met with a lawyer and explained everything in detail. For the first time, he understood the bigger picture. A legal case began to take shape. Documents were prepared and formal steps were taken. Even inside the HOA, tension started to build. Some members began questioning the situation. As the case progressed, more truth came to light. People who once accused him started to step back. The court hearing arrived, and Daniel presented his case calmly. Every detail was explained with logic and patience. The judge carefully reviewed all evidence and statements. The atmosphere in the courtroom was serious and focused. Questions were raised about the HOA's actions. Their authority began to face scrutiny. Daniel's honesty and patience worked in his favor. Truth was slowly becoming undeniable. Eventually, the decision began to turn in his favor. The HOA struggled to justify its actions. They were forced to face accountability for their decisions. Discussions about changes in the system began. The balance of power in the neighborhood started to shift. What once felt controlling was now being questioned. Daniel never sought revenge, only fairness. And slowly, he began rebuilding a peaceful life with his daughter. People in the neighborhood started changing their perspective. Trust, though damaged, began to return slowly. In the end, Daniel realized that silence is not weakness. And truth, when it finally comes out, can change everything.